Hello! Today we're going to talk about how to plan out and hang a gallery wall. So I have this huge blank wall to the side of my beautiful bay window that I'm going to hang a salon style gallery wall. So that means everything's going to be kind of close together and there's going to be a ton of fun stuff on here. First thing you need is brown paper. It definitely doesn't have to be brown paper. It can also be any sort of leftover wrapping paper that you have. So you want to lay your paper flat on whatever surface you have, or as flat as I could get my paper. And I hate to waste any paper. So I try to line up my square art anyway on the sides as best I can. This one's a little wonky, so I did have to do a line on that side with the edge of the paper. And you take a pencil mark all the way around the side of your art. Now, could you take measurements of all of your art and measure it out on the brown paper that way? Yes, of course you could. But I find this is a little more accurate, actually, and takes way less time. And very important, you need to label what this is a tracing of. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of squares that all look very much the same. So make sure you write nice and big what this is a tracing of. And now it's time to cut it out. You can, of course, lay out a piece of paper and trace multiple pictures at a time. I do that later. But right now, this is what I'm cutting out. So next we take it up to the wall. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna put pieces of tape in each of the corners of your piece. You want to see exactly how it's gonna lay out. So if the corners are like folding, it's not a true representation of what the art is. So make sure that you tape all the sides so there isn't any rolling of the paper. Now for things that are not square, you're gonna do the same thing. I have these cool masks I'm gonna put up. So I lay it out on the piece of paper and I even am going to trace these chords to give a really true representation of what this thing is. So when I put it on the wall, I know exactly what it is and I know exactly where it's gonna hang. Yes, tracing all of this stuff out, especially if you have a large gallery wall, can seem tedious, but I promise you, just like with painting, all of the prep work makes the actual work so much easier. All right, so I repeated the cutting process for all of the different pieces that I wanted to incorporate into my gallery wall. And after I cut them, I went ahead and taped them to the wall just wherever so that I could keep my work area nice and neat. And now I am moving them into places to kind of give a nice balance to my art wall. Okay, so I'm really happy with how this looks. I've moved a couple of things around since yesterday, but I feel really good about how this looks now. So now it is time to show you how I'm gonna hang this stuff exactly where those papers are. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take down the piece that's in the center. I don't wanna start from one side or the other because if things do shift a little bit, I don't want my gaps between pieces to be too different. So if I start in the middle and work my way out, I can at least even it out as I go. If I start one side, it might end up too heavy on one side or hitting the wall, worst case scenario, and then I'd have to redo my whole design. So this piece in the middle-ish, I'm gonna take it down. So what I do is I put the piece of paper on the back of the piece of art, okay? And you're like, Casey, why do you do that? So what I'm gonna do, this one's kind of hard because it's a wire, right? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on the back, I'm gonna line it up. Obviously they're not 100% perfect, but that's okay. And then I'm gonna kind of just feel for the wire, and then I'm gonna punch a little hole right where the nail should be. You have a little pencil mark right at the top of where this, you can see in the back, oops, where I grabbed it, right? So the nail's gonna go right there. I put it back up on the wall, pretty much where it was before, and I've got my little hole. And there you have it. I was able to put the nail right where the little hole was. It's level, and it's exactly where I wanted it. Now I just have a million more to do. You may be asking yourself, Casey, why didn't you just put where the nail needs to go when you traced the art the first time and when it was down? on the ground. You're right. I could have done that, but you know what? I didn't. I didn't do that. So I had to take them all down and put it back. So after I've done most of the ones in the center, I started going towards the bottom just because I was tired. And this is where stuff did start to change a little bit. Not that anything had moved while I was hanging things, but I had just changed my mind on a couple of things. So that was really great that I was able to move stuff around and change things. It's all very, very changeable until you put nails on the wall. So I tried to do as much as I humanly could before I did that. Now that everything's up, now I cannot forget to clean all the glass and then level everything out. Now I know you saw me using a level earlier while I was putting everything up, but that was just preliminary leveling. This is the final leveling. This is everything gets cleaned. This is the last time everything is touched, theoretically. So I want to make sure it's as level as possible. Every time you hit a nail into the wall, when something's already on the wall, it's going to shake it and it's going to make it unlevel. But I was leveling while I was hanging so that I could kind of get a visual on what everything was going to look like. So now it's the final leveling. So here we are, the finished product. It looks so good. I'm thrilled to pieces. So here's what I would recommend if you're going to try this yourself. Definitely cut out paper. It doesn't have to be brown butcher paper. I would recommend it be sort of a thicker paper so that when you're putting it on and off the wall, it doesn't rip as easily as mine did. It was just the paper I had. And if you have painter's tape, go for it. Scotch tape, yet again, if your paper is thin, can rip the paper as you're pulling stuff off and on and moving it around your wall. What I would also recommend is that you have a variety of stuff in the gallery wall. So I have mirrors, I have photographs, I have art, I have 3D things like masks and that D. Make sure you start from the center and work your way out. Decide what your center piece is going to be. It doesn't have to be a piece in the center. I actually don't have a piece in the very center of mine. There's a couple of different things that share the technical center. That way you've got some more visual interest. But if you want to put something in the center, awesome. Just make sure you start there and work your way out. So good luck. I'm sure your gallery wall is beautiful. I can't wait to see it, and thanks for watching.